The pleasure and the privilege is mine. We're at Riot Fest 2023. It's a Case 4 Q101 edition. And I'm here with a legend in front of me, a living legend, somebody that I tremendously respect. Welcome to the booth, Walter Schreifels. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much. Great to be here.
I'm thrilled you're here. I'm catching you at what I feel is a good time. I'm catching you before you play one of your 3 sets this weekend. Is this a shot at Ben Gibbard? Because everybody's giving him credit for playing twice. Oh, Death Cab, Postal Service. Oh, look at him. Walter Schreifels gave him the finger and said, you're doing it 3 times this weekend.
Hey, nothing but respect. I'm not going to throw my shade on him, but 2 versus 3.
I mean, come on.
I mean, it's not really that much.
And it's awesome. Postal Service, you're just kind of standing there.
You're just kicking it, but you know, it's good. Respect,
good.
100%. Like, I'm not, no shade.
Of course. You've had a busy year. Gorilla Biscuits on the road, tied down. This is hardcore.
Yeah.
They're playing Sunday. I want to talk about them first, though. We're, 35 years since the release of Start Today?
Might be. Could be.
First of all, oh my God.
Yeah.
Second of all, if you don't know Gorilla Biscuits Starts Today, we're going to reach some people here who might not be familiar with your work.
Oh, okay.
It's Hardcore 101. If you have not listened to that record, maybe you like Turnstile, maybe you like the band that's playing just Feet Beyond Us, Code Orange, you have to listen to Gorilla Biscuits, an influential record on me, an essential one for me. How does it feel all that time later, a record that you wrote when you were, a teenager, it still means something to people? Does that resonate with you at all?
It blows my mind, to be honest. We just played a couple nights in New York, and just looking at the scene of people, like, it's the beautiful scene that I imagined when I was writing this record, and it's so cool to see it all come to pass. It's really magical.
At the time, we're talking 87, 88-ish,
Yeah.
so hardcore is in its infancy. But did you have any idea writing that record in the room that you were doing something really special? Do you sort of have a feeling when you're writing that of like, I kind of killed this one?
I felt it was good. I mean, I think it really, I definitely felt that. What I didn't really see is beyond our little group of people, and that it would continue to resonate, and that this music genre would, it seems like it's bigger now than it's ever been.
It's crazy. I mean, we're doing this hours before Turnstile plays what is essentially a headlining set. When the poster came out and I see Foo Fighters 1, Turnstile 2, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy few years. Something happened here that even I was not expecting.
I mean, it's wonderful. I mean, the hardcore scene beyond the music is, I think it's the ethics and the ideas about, like, kind of taking things in your own hands, I think, and creating supportive communities and interconnected communities is really so applicable to where we're at now. And I think it's a real stark contrast to a lot of the garbage you're being subjected to through all kinds of different means.
Very much so. So, that's something that I like about you. And you are a man who, might I say, has aged phenomenally. You look incredible.
Oh, thanks so
But
much.
you've been around the block a time or two. This isn't your first radio. The thing I've always liked about you, you seem like a forward-thinking guy. You seem like a guy that's always open to the next thing, whatever that is. Your music itself has seemed to evolve with the times, linking to a group like Title Fight, which you produced their record Shed. You always seem to have one foot in front of everybody else. Is that a conscious decision? Because I feel like so often in our little subgenre, it's easy to go, well, it was better then. It used to be better. Let me fold my arms in the back of the room. I'm no longer getting in the pit because this isn't as good as it was. But you're Walter Schreifels. You could have kind of, after Gorilla Biscuits, you could have been like, I'm good. I'm better than everybody at this. And you didn't. You continue to go forward. Is that a conscious decision for you?
Well, I think once you kind of take that attitude, you're done. You know what I mean? So, I'm just interested in, I just continue to be interested, and my mind is blown how this story continues, and that I have some sort of place in it. When I work with someone like Title Fight or the Turnstile guys, and watching them come up, and that there's this story that I just find continually interesting, and I'm always open to, like, new inspirations.
I want to give full credit where it's due. There's a great Chicago writer named David Anthony, and he published an interview as the week we're recording this with Pat Flynn of Fiddlehead, who's obviously my guy as I stand here wearing a Fiddlehead shirt. And Pat was talking about how towards the end of the 2010s, he had this real doomsday mindset towards hardcore that maybe, much like we've seen traditional rock music sort of go by the wayside, that maybe after 40 years of hardcore, we were done with it. The crowds were older, the bands weren't as innovative, and somehow in the last, 4 or 5 years, the genre seems to have gotten bigger than ever. Have you ever had a point where you've looked around the scene and gone, maybe this just isn't for me anymore?
Well, I mean, I think I can never really compare my interest in it to when I was a teenager and when I was so enveloped in it. But I think it's and for that reason I was saying before, I don't think it's the music as much as it is the culture and the people within it and those networks that form. And I think while, it's a certain kind of aggressiveness to the music, but I think what keeps pulling me back are those like ethics and the community.
Do you think for somebody that's maybe never been to a hardcore show, you can describe that culture that's there? Because, even, Quicksand or Rival Schools, bands that were on majors, I would imagine the crowd for a Gorilla Biscuits show is just a little bit different than those crowds. Or even if you're just at your run-of-the-mill local hardcore show, what's that culture like? Is there something specific that really you gravitate towards there?
Well, I feel at home and all the people that are doing it, like, I'm friends with people since I was a teenager doing it. And in the course of that have met people that coming into it that are interested in my work. So like, this is just my world, you know what I mean? And it's not limited by that in any way, because like, I think now when you're talking about hardcore, it's like, I think musically it's never been so wide open.
Yeah, for sure.
When I was involved in it, I felt the confines being more narrow and I tried to play with those. But I see that happening now on such another level. So I think in that way, like, it's more the scene that I wanted when I got into it now than it ever really was.
Does the growth scare you at all? Because, look, it's not lost to me. We're doing this interview for a big radio station.
Yeah.
This interview is sponsored by a bank.
Yeah.
There are people that might not know me and might not know that I'm trying to do everything I can for the local scene, and they go, well, what, radio wants to get into hardcore now? Does the rapid growth scare you at all, or is it all just one big party and everybody's welcome to it?
I think it's how you are internally. You know what I mean? Like, what is your motivation about what you're doing?
Yeah.
And, like, I think that's what's key. Because, the only fear I would have, and, like, where like certain music genres like blew up in the night, like ska, everybody's into ska, and then it's like ska's a little bit passe because we've had it. I just think hardcore is too sturdy to really kick over like that, and I don't know if it's yet trendy. I think it's more about the community than the actual bands or the style.
Speaking of trends, I have a question for you. At your stage in life, straight edge or not? Straight edge still?
Is that the question?
Yeah. Are you still straight edge?
I am not straight edge,
okay.
but there's always a straight edge kid inside of my heart.
I completely understand. I still find myself at 24 throwing up the X's, doing my thing.
Love that.
I think partially because it's trend resistant, and as social media continues to latch on to various different things, no influencer is going to be dumb enough to go, I'm straight edge now. That just seems like it's so out in the distance of the world that we live in that no matter what hardcore becomes, there's always going to be a little pocket that's there for a straight edge kid, for a youth crew kid, that just sort of makes sense to us, and I think that's always going to be safe.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, there's always going to be the reaction to the culture is the culture is telling you to do a lot of different things. One of them is to get intoxicated. And I think there's always going to be a reaction to that.
For sure.
And it's cool that there's it's a kind of a pretty massive support group and the straight edge world. And I'm super grateful for my part in it.
Absolutely.
And I feel informed by it.
Let's talk about music real quick in the modern sense of hardcore. Who are the bands right now that light your fire, that get you really excited?
I can name a bunch. Ones that I really I'm excited by would be like Gel, Restraining Order, for sure, what Turnstile is doing, I think it's transcendent. Incendiary, Mind Force are dope.
Mind Force. They just played their first Chicago show here. I couldn't make it, but everybody that went was like, this was the most lit thing.
Yeah.
They need a bigger venue because the venue that they played just could not control what was going on.
Yeah, they're super dope. End It.
Yeah, oh my God, I just saw End It. So there's a hardcore fest here called The Rumble, and they moved it to a parking lot this year, and End It played as it started to rain.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was a real touching moment for this band that hopefully by the time their next LP comes out, everybody gets on board and goes, that's that's something different. I've never heard a band that sounds like them before.
It's a grip of bands that are doing stuff connected to the roots of hardcore, but completely not like it's not like they're aping the bands of 30 years ago.
Absolutely, and another band doing that is Military Gun.
Military Gun as well, just toured with them.
I was going to say, you hurt my feelings because Rival Schools did some UK dates with Military Gun, and I was going, what, no Midwest Swing? I mean, that's a show I want to buy a ticket to.
Yeah, I love those guys. They were amazing, and I think that's another band that's like, yes, they have their roots in hardcore, but I think anybody could like them.
I think they are actively trying to push the boundaries of hardcore in a way that will agitate some. I think Ian had a quote where he's like, my music is not for closed-minded people.
Yeah.
And that's a very bold quote, but I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think he's not afraid of that.
So speaking of Rival Schools, let's talk about the reissue that came out, Run for Cover, last year. I have followed your career. I love you. I was not super in tune with Rival Schools until this reissue. Boy, did I feel silly. What United by Fate. What a phenomenal record that is. How does it feel to tour that stuff again?
Magic. I mean, I love my bandmates, and to meet younger people like yourself, like that discovered it recently, is like, I mean, it feels good, honestly.
Let's show some love to Run for Cover real quick.
Favorites.
They're the best. I mean, for me, they were my entry point a decade ago when they had, for lack of a better term, the emo revival stuff, and that was my way in with the Modern Baseballs and the Tiger's Jaws, etc.
Tiger's Jaw
and now as they continue to put out, One Step Closer and Fiddlehead and all of these great records, Narrowhead, another one that really.
Oh my God, Narrowhead are dope.
That's kind of
One Step Closer. Yeah, they're doing great shit.
Yeah, I love them. I have nothing more to add on Run for Cover other than hey, they're great.
Let's recognize them, dude.
Absolutely.
Good.
So you're about to play a set here with Quicksand, 30th anniversary of Slip. I wanted to ask about the jump from being a rev band to a major label with them. Obviously, a hardcore 30 years ago, not as accepting as it is now. We're talking all about, the scene's expanding, the sounds are different. 30 years ago, it didn't really seem like that was the case. Am I wrong there?
There was some pushback, but I think ultimately we were making a kind of music that was new and exciting to most people.
Absolutely.
In that world. So there was a bit of pushback. Being on a major label was a thing that people were not, we were early on that. But ultimately, it allowed us to tour all year long, and there were some things that weren't my favorite stuff about it, but it allowed us to do a lot of stuff and reach a lot of people that we wouldn't have otherwise.
In terms of the tours, I was looking back at the old Quicksand dates, and I saw one show that stood out to me in particular. Maybe it sticks out in your mind, maybe it doesn't, but in 1993, you guys played the Metro with Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
If I had a time machine, that's high on the list. Boy, would I like to go back to that.
Yeah.
How long have you known Zach? Because you guys obviously go back to, I would assume, Inside Out.
Yeah, I know Zach since, I think I met him in like 87, so I've known him for a long time.
Yeah, I was at the show last year, so Rage obviously reunited, delayed for all those years. I was at the show where he tore his Achilles. It was 4 songs in. He's doing Bomb Track, and he goes down.
Oh, you were at that show.
I was at that show. And there's this weird hum in the United Center where all of a sudden nobody really knows what's going to go on. And then he comes back out and he sits on this box for the rest of the show. And he was still Zach. Even though he was seated, it was a Herculean performance during Wake Up.
Incredible.
I've only cried once at a concert.
Oh, my God.
It was a Morrissey concert. It's kind of embarrassing. But Rage almost brought me to tears because they did Wake Up. And, that song has this quiet part.
Yeah.
And he gives this speech. A very Zach speech, band together, working class, fight the elite. But I just watched this man shred his leg 10 minutes before it.
Yeah.
The greatest thing I've ever seen.
He's not a normal guy.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
It's still, at the end of the day, it's like, he's a quiet guy, soft-spoken guy, but maybe he gets on stage and it's just different.
He's just got so much fire and passion and, amazing guy.
In terms of moving to the major, going back to Quicksand for a second, did you ever have, let's say, a suit, have any major misconceptions about you? Oh, the hardcore punk guy just signed to us. Is he some wild, out-of-control anarchist? And then you just show up, you're like, I'm Walter, I'm here to record my album. Were there any, major label misconceptions with you?
There might be a little bit, maybe a weird press thing or something here and there. You know what I mean? Weird things they sent out to, at that time, some of that would be a little bit silly. But, for the most part, I'm pretty affable. If you think I'm some, anarchistic or whatever, some antisocial dude, let's have a conversation and we'll work it out.
Absolutely. Well, you're here. Before I let you go, we're obviously in Chicago, Douglas Park, Riot Fest 2023. When you come to this city, are there any venues that stick out, any shows that stick out? This is, to me, the greatest city for live music in the world. Has it treated you well over the years?
Love Chicago. There's many. I would say 100%. The Metro is just a holy place.
The best. It's the best.
And you just mentioned the shows with Rage there, but I've had so many great shows at the Metro. But there's other great spots.
Aragon.
Rev. Yeah, I played Aragon. The Vic.
Yeah, the
Vic. There was another one that I really loved. Cubbies. Great time for music.
It's absolutely. So before I let you go, talk to the young people out there. What should they know? What should they do? Do you have any words of inspiration for people that maybe look towards mainstream culture, whether it be music, whether it be television, whether it be literature, and don't feel connected to it? If they want to live an alternative lifestyle, jump right in. Do you have any advice for them?
I think you're smart to follow your heart. You only go around the once. So as a young person, not everybody can figure it out, but figure out what you really love and go for it and try to make that your thing. That's pretty simple advice.
Wise words from a wise man. It's Walter Schreifels, a Case for Riot Fest 2023. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Good times. This really got my attention. I got right off the fucking phone.